Good evening. Good evening. Hello. Thank you. Good evening. We will be conducting tonight's meeting here in City Hall Council chambers, as well as virtually using Zoom and on the city's YouTube channel. If you would like to participate in the meeting via Zoom, please refer to the agenda for instructions. We will be having the invocation this evening from Pastor Eric Long from Salt Mine Church, and the mayor will begin the meeting immediately after.
Hello, and thank you. It's always such a humbling honor to be here. And before I pray, I'd like to just announce, and real quick, and Sean, I'll be getting a hold of you about like when we're going to present our final display of our shower laundry facility. It's fantastic. It's quite literally, there's been so many delays and holdups. I've been told like it'll be operational next week, but I'm not going to hold my breath. And when that happens, I'm going to say, hey, I want to come and present what good money it was spent on for our city. So thank you. So let us pray. Father, we do just thank you as we humbly stand before you. We humbly serve before you. We ask for your wisdom. We ask for your courage to bless this city. So in short, we're asking for you to be a blessing to us, to bless us as we serve and serve at our best. And Lord, we ask that you would just smile upon us and just give us grace and goodness, and we just love our city. And so we ask that you just continue to display your goodness to us in Jesus' precious name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Well, welcome to the City of Lincoln. City Council, Lincoln Redevelopment Successor Agency, Lincoln Public Financing Authority. For August 13th, 2024, I call the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Councilmember Andriotta.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Joyner.
Here.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Here.
And Mayor Carl Skint.
Here. There is no report from a closed session since we didn't have any. We will now do the Pledge of Allegiance led by Matt Melville, our Public Works Director. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any agenda modifications that the council would like to make or staff make? Okay, I will go to presentations. We have one presentation today. It's an anniversary presentation. So I'll read it, and then I'd like to present the certificate to the group. Proclamation of the City Council of the City of Lincoln recognized Adopted Creek's dedication and exemplary service to the community. Whereas the Adopted Creek program was established 5 years ago with the goal of fostering community engagement, environmental stewardship, to encourage local residents and organizations to take an active role in the care and maintenance of our creeks and waterways, and to foster healthy interactions with the unhoused community. And whereas the program has successfully mobilized over 20 volunteers who have sought to integrate support for the unhoused by collaborating with local shelters, outreach programs, and social services to provide assistance and resource to those in need. And whereas the ongoing success of Adopted Creek program is a statement to the commitment of our residents, city staff, local organization, and city officials working together to protect and preserve our natural environment, with over 44,000 pounds of trash removed to date for 2024. And whereas the 5th anniversary provides an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the achievements of the program, honor the volunteers and partners who have contributed to its success, and reaffirm our collective dedication to maintaining the vitality of our local creeks. And whereas the tenacity of the Adopted Creek team provides that together we can work to be good stewards of this important natural resource and to continue to find comprehensive solutions that provide support and dignity for all of our residents. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the city of Lincoln does hereby proclaim the celebration of the 5th anniversary of the Adopt a Creek program and encourages all citizens, organizations, and businesses to continue to participate in this valuable program. Together, we can foster a healthier environment, a more compassionate community by caring for our creeks and supporting our unhoused residents. I would like a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously passed and adopted on this 13th day of August. So. Would someone like to come up and
Yes.
make, and then we'll take pictures of the groups.
And then we do have copies of the proclamation and a certificate. All of the Adopted Creek volunteers. So I'll give those to Mona to pass out, but if the group would like to come up, we'd like to get a
Yeah.
photo.
Mona? Oh, okay.
Oh, that's probably smart.
Yeah.
Literally the gatekeeper. Look, if you guys can bring that up for everyone.
We thought you were going to exclude us from the room. You were making too much noise, Mayor.
Big guy.
All the trash talk.
Short guys.
Oh, okay.
Trying to adjust over there.
Christine should be in one.
Yeah.
Her team, her whole team. Hey, even Matt, get in here, Matt, come on. Matt's been a big. Public Works, all the work. Okay.
Right, I think I've got everybody.
It's been even heavy, Matt, with your team, you guys, the team you've got is really going to help us. You know, big supporters, I think, has really made a big difference.
We still allowed all sorts of stuff out.
Hey, good next. Thank you, Mayor.
I guess you're involved.
We need someone that's up and down.
Once you open that up, oh,
Heck, yeah.
while it's noisy.
Because
Well, wait, before you all leave, wait, real quick. The mayor asked Mana if she wanted to say a few words, and she says, you know me, I can't say a few words, so she's not going to say anything. But that doesn't mean that we can't. And I just want to thank you all so much. Lincoln has made so much progress and a lot of really creative ideas and a lot of hard work. And when I talk about our situation, our homeless or unhoused situation, people ask, how's it going to Lincoln? I am able to brag and say, you know, we've really come a long way. We've made a lot of progress, and here's our pilot program, and we have this group of volunteers. But really, I focus on you because we can sit up here and make policy and funding, and maybe once in a while come take a tour and help out, whatever. But we could not do what we have done without you. Actually, we couldn't do it without you at all because you're the one who does it. And with Pastor Eric Long at the Salt Mine, and Christine has headed this up for so many years, but you all are the heart and soul of what is happening with our homeless population. And I just want you to know how grateful we are, how thankful we are. And I know it's a lot of hard work, but you have shown so much care and so much devotion to these people and to the betterment of our city. And so we cannot say thank you enough, and we're grateful and bless you all.
As I was going through the proclamation, I just told Mona, 5 years ago, we could have named this Adopt a Problem because it's more than what everybody started it out to be. And the ability to absorb people with different interests and solve more than keeping, being a good steward of the ravine is phenomenal. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, I could go.
You know, the only thing I can add to what's already been said by my colleagues is my own gratitude and respect for the work that you're doing and the impacts that you're having on our community. It truly is remarkable. It's not often that I wind up speechless, but apparently I am right now. Holly covered it deeply from the heart and in a way that I don't think that I could have quite crafted. So I'm going to sign on to her comments and just say ditto.
I think I'd just like to add that this is what I would think is the epitome of community.
Yeah.
That the community is what comes together and solves problems. And we can help give you the tools, whether it's policy or ideas or helping to give you the tools to do that. Absolutely, community is the driving force. So nothing could have been done without you. Thank you.
The thing we can't give them that they bring in spades themselves is the passion for the work.
Yes. I've never seen a group of people show up so consistently week in and week out as all of you. So, and that's the truth. And now you can go.
Yay! Party on!
At least without free food.
I know, right?
Okay, oh, take a minute. Clear the room. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. This time for the public to make comment on non-agenda items that are within the subject matter or jurisdiction of the council. I have one request, and that's from Richard Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. We are 10 days away from Lincoln Airport 2024 Wings and Wheels, and it's shaping up to be the best event that we've ever had out there. And one of the reasons it's happening is because of the partnership between the city and the Chamber of Commerce over here, our Public Works, Public Safety groups, the Chamber, the pilot group out in the area, and all the volunteers. We're going to probably have 50 volunteers out there. It's all coming together. The aircraft is coming together, all the cars are coming together, the vendors, we got it well under control. We're expecting somewhere between 10 and 12,000 people out there this time. Again, we're going to have the hot air balloons lifting off on it's about 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. So we're going to be out there at dark 30 at 5:30 in the morning to help park people and bring them in. It's just going to be a great event. And Friday night, we're going to have what they call a hot air moon glow. And what this is that they'll elevate the balloons, the envelopes, they'll tether to the ground, of course, and they'll put spotlights underneath it, and it just shines. And all of our residents or anyone else who wants to come out there, they can come out, park on Flightline Drive. The moon glow will be inside the fence for security reasons, right on Flightline Drive, but everyone who wants to come will be up close and personal and seeing the balloons as they do this moon glow. On Saturday morning, we're also going to have 7 hot air balloons coming out then. This year, we're going to be able to get our guests really up close within a couple of feet of the balloons as they elevate, and then off they go. They do the balloon thing. All of our aircraft then will be coming in. We're expecting 80-plus aircraft on the ground, both from our airport and other airports, somewhere between 150 and 200 cars, 60 vendors. I mean, this is going to be a big deal. We're happy to be a partnership with the chamber, but it all comes together because of all the hard work that's been done by the city departments and the chamber and all those volunteers. So I encourage the community to come out. It's going to be a great day, guaranteed perfect weather. And we're starting at, as I said, about 5:30. We're going to be out there, and it's going to go until about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. No aerobatics, but we will have lots of flybys and lots of interesting things going on throughout that whole time. And especially, I encourage families to come out because we have a Youth Aviation Expo. We'll have exhibits from the California Aerospace Museum, I think we're going to have 3 flight simulators. Beale Air Force Base is bringing down one of their spacesuits that the U-2 pilots use. And so it's very youth-oriented. They're going to have a great time. Every family is going to have a great time. The charge is no charge for parking. And the fee for adults is $10, very minimal. If you're under 12, come on, walk in free. So we'll see everyone in 10 days. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Anyone from the public also like to comment?
We do have a hand raised, Mayor.
Yeah.
Somebody on Zoom.
Okay. Nobody in the room?
No.
Okay.
Lena, please go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I know a couple of you are aware of this problem, and our chief certainly is aware, but our executive director of Sun City Lincoln Hills is using our police department instead of managing our HOA as he should. In the last month, Kyle Bodyfelt has called the police 4 times. 1, a lady was swimming in the wrong lane of the pool. 2, 4 ladies were playing bridge in the Clog Cafe. 3, the Mahjong group was told to leave their game early, and he called the police to make them get out. 4, on Friday, August 2nd, he had a resident arrested at the concert. She had a ticket and a wristband, but instead of telling her to leave at the entrance, he waited until she was seated 15 minutes and called the police to have her arrested. Problems with residents of this type of Lincoln Hills should be handled differently than non-residents. They should be handled administratively because we, the residents, own the grounds of Lincoln Hills. Our executive director using the police has gotten out of hand. And I realize the police has to come when he calls, but I believe the city manager or the city attorney needs to have a talk with him about the appropriate times to call the police. It's just gotten out of hand, and I hope that you can help with this. He's wasting our police resources for things that he should be handling on his own. I thank you for any help you can give us. Thanks.
Thank you. I will turn this over to Christine. My feeling is that the subject is not within the jurisdiction of the city, that it's a HOA problem. But
Yes, Mayor Carlscan, I would just indicate that it would not be appropriate for us to comment on the operations of another organization. That's really for them to sort out. And to the extent that it implicates the city, it might be considered contemplated litigation, and would recommend we not comment on that basis as well.
thank you for reaffirming that. Any other comments from the public? Okay, the next item. Consent calendar. Consent calendar are those items that are administrative and will be handled with one vote unless an item is pulled by a council member or a member of the public. Does anyone wish to pull a consent item?
No.
Being none, I'll entertain a motion.
Check for the public.
I did. I mean. I
There's
looked-
nobody online.
Oh, I didn't check online.
Yeah.
None online, okay. So I
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
have a
Thank-
motion and a second. Please
Yes.
call the roll.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Yes.
And Mayor Carlskin.
Yes. Public hearings. We have one public hearing to conduct a public hearing, determine that the item is not considered a project under CEQA, and waive the first reading, introduced by title only, an ordinance adopting proposed amendments, Title 18. Yeah,
Let's see. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Michaela Noble, Assistant Planner with the Community Development Department. The item we have before you today is a public hearing to consider a recommendation from the Planning Commission to amend Title 18 of the Lincoln Municipal Code regarding permit expirations and extensions. In July, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and unanimously recommended that City Council adopt the proposed amendments to Title 18. Some background on the city's procedures on permit expirations and time extensions. Currently, the zoning ordinance is inconsistent in how it addresses initial approval terms and time extension allowances for discretionary permits. The table above summarizes the city's current codes. City staff also frequently receives time extension application requests for approved permits. For example, 3 time extension applications have been processed in the last year. You typically don't see these, they're just done at the Planning Commission level. These requests are common for various reasons, such as constraints in implementing conditions of approval, changes in ownership, and most common would be financing and economic limitations. The Planning Commission is recommending to amend Title 18 to define the approval terms of discretionary permits for an initial period of 4 years unless the decision-making body provides an alternative length of time. The amendments also provide projects 1 2-year time extension opportunity. Time extension applications would be reviewed and approved or denied by the Community Development Director. This table right here is essentially just a summary of all the proposed amendments and the specific code sections that they impact. Currently, like I previously mentioned, Title 18 lacks consistent application of the permit approval terms and time extensions. The proposed amendments address this inadequacy. Staff researched local jurisdiction zoning ordinances while trying to determine an appropriate initial approval and time extension term. Staff found that other jurisdictions have an initial approval period for about 2 to 3 years and are consistent across all permit types. Right now, the city's approval terms vary in length from 1 to 5 years or are not specified for some permit types. The proposed initial approval period of 4 years is 1 year more than current practices in the local region. In regard to time extension allowances, jurisdictions vary in their approach. In total, the potential life of a discretionary permit ranges from 4 to 9 years. Staff is proposing the potential life of the entitlement to be 6 years, which is consistent with local jurisdictions' regulations. Staff also attempted to find some justification or rationale as to why jurisdictions operate the way they do and have their extensions and expirations the way they do, but we couldn't find anything. While the proposal of the initial 4 years for all discretionary permits is slightly greater than other jurisdictions in our region, the proposal aligns with the approval term of tentative maps. Title 17 subdivisions was amended back in 2022 to increase the initial life of a tentative map to 4 years. The proposed amendments would provide consistency across all planning entitlements. The proposed amendments would also simplify our city procedures. There are many instances when a project application includes multiple entitlements that are approved on the same day. With the amendments, all entitlements would have the same expiration date, easing efforts to track project expirations. The amendment would also provide flexibility for the applicant. There are several reasons why an applicant can't activate their entitlement, which requires them to apply for a time extension. Increasing the initial approval period accounts for any delays that an applicant may encounter. For example, design reviews are currently only valid for 1 year. It's fairly challenging for an applicant to comply with all the required conditions of approval prior to entitlement expiration. As a result, the applicant must submit a time extension application and pay a $3,000 fee in order to cover staff work and materials. While these applications are relatively simple in nature, they do take a lot of time and effort for staff to prepare and present to the Planning Commission. The proposed amendments should reduce the number of time extension applications that the city receives and cuts some costs for the applicant. The Planning Commission recommends that the City Council determine that the Title 18 amendments comply with CEQA guidelines and to adopt an ordinance approving the proposed amendments. Thank you for your time.
Any questions from the council?
Maybe.
Thank you.
So I'm going to support this. I think it makes good sense. It will actually be putting us a little farther out than our surrounding communities, which for those individuals with projects before us, that's going to give them a little bit of elbow room. I think the only thing I wonder about if I flip it to the city side of the equation is, do we have a check-in along the way over that course of 4 years, just to see where they are, what's going on with the project? Is it alive? Is it dead? You know, with the shorter periods that we have, obviously that pretty much mandates that they come in and talk with us. So is there a administrative check-in? Or do we have the ability to reach back out? Do we care to have the ability to reach back out and see where they are?
Well, we don't. We don't have a check-in. So that would be difficult to codify. But I definitely hear what you're saying. We can always just reach out on the phone as a, you know, the project manager.
That's not a hindrance for you guys.
Yeah,
That I'm
no.
fine with it. It's just, this was a vehicle for those periodic check-ins
Yeah.
along the way.
We-
And if I go to the developer side, I don't need to be spending $3,500 to check in with the city.
Right. We didn't really see this as that as the appropriate vehicle for checking in to
agree.
require a whole nother application.
I
You process
agree.
one. Yeah. So,
But 4 years could now pass
right.
without any conversations going on.
Exactly. I think, you know, per our strategic meeting and communication and checking in, staying abreast of where these developments are. If that's a policy, we can internally adopt that policy of like, hey, project managers, where's that project? Like, check in, a simple call. That's
Yeah, I think that's
fairly
enough.
easy to just implement as a managerial kind of policy. And I just would then reiterate that if for any reason the planning commission or the council sees that they want to hold a project on a tighter leash, then they can mandate or just change the expiration as a condition. So there's always that option.
Yeah, and one other thing, like I was going to mention, because when I was reading through this and talking with staff a little bit, sort of like there's a real benefit to just having projects. First of all, a year is just not enough time. I mean, it's crazy, especially for even for small projects. If there's a downside to it, just full disclosure, you might have a situation where a property gets an entitlement and then they don't do anything for 4 years. And we as a city, especially for commercial projects, really don't want to see that. We want to see something happen. And so the expiration does serve a purpose sometimes because it kind of forces them. But in practice, I think if you're in a community like Lincoln where you have a significant demand of development, I don't really see that being a problem, over the long term. There's just always somebody that wants to do something when something's available. If we were in a town that nobody wanted to build anything, then I wouldn't say we want a lengthy term on your approvals.
So you will be back in that position one day when and if, but it's a when, a recession
Yeah.
comes, construction slows or stalls.
Yeah.
That passage of time will happen on projects and projects will fall off.
But the interesting thing about that is that in that case, that is kind of a nice flexibility to the property owner / business, right? That like, hey, I can't build this. The market's tanked. It's, doesn't pencil for me, and they can hold until it's time and ready. So,
And I'm in no way arguing against it. I think it's a good idea. I just want to make sure that we've got the ability to know where projects are within the community.
No, Councilmember Joyner covered it.
They, the 6-year final extension. Again, depending on the timing of a downturn in the economy, it's conceivable that it can happen towards the end, at 8 years out in the project. I didn't remember whether there's any flexibility in that final extension.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think our strategy was to kind of come out with a generous initial 4 years and then a 2-year check-in where, okay, you've had 4 years, now you're gonna get, you may get 2 more years. It's go time. And then that's it. Like, so that there's a hard stop at the end of the 6 years. So that kind of brings us in a little bit from our peers, but hopefully that incentivizes them to finish that project up. And at that point, you're getting into 6 years in terms of accounting for an economic downturn. We didn't build that in. I think we wanted that hard stop at the end of the 6 years. So I see it as like, you could probably anticipate that, maybe going in. But
That's 11 years. I mean, we with this changed Title 18, total of 10 years period. Right?
Six. So it's the initial 4-year approval. And then once that's up, you're eligible for a one-time 2-year extension. So
For a
4 and
total of
6, 2
six.
is
I'm sorry.
6.
I read that.
It's okay.
I read that as a 6-year extension.
No, absolutely not. Just the extension would be 2 years for a total of 6 years of the potential life of the entitlement.
we could amend it to say you get another chance of a 2-year extension and another, we could.
I just remember them being on the planning commission in those times and having to dole out 2-year extensions, one after another.
Yeah, but remember, like, the difference between this, what they're talking about is ostensibly like permits for things that are going to get built versus maps. Maps already have all of these built-in statutory,
Yeah, very good point.
extensions. And so like, for,
Yeah.
I don't know, Christian, but I would assume that the vast majority of extension talk you have is map related.
Not, I mean, there is a lot of that for
Yeah.
sure, and that's under state. But the three we just had, I think, had been various entitlements that just needed extensions, mom and pop operations who needed
Mhm.
another couple years. So where we get those 2-year is really at the beginning. And so we thought like having that robust 4-year from the get-go would just kind of, you got 4 years. You have enough time to really take your time, plan it out. If you get to the end of the 4 years and you need another 2 years, you have that option, but we're getting towards the end of it, So you can slice it a lot of different ways. We can try this. If it doesn't work,
Yeah,
we can
that's
always
true.
amend it back. But I think,
I like the 4 years.
yeah, to get
I
out on
really
an
do.
even keel with all the permits at 4, that's the big cleanup effort. And then we can kind of play with the
Any further questions, comments? Any comments from the public? Well, it is an open the public hearing. Anyone want to provide testimony? Seeing none here, anybody online?
No one online, Mayor.
Close public hearing. It's back to the council. I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of item
9A.
9A. Thank you. Thank you.
Do this one vote.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second.
Yes, Councilmember Andriotta.
Yes.
Councilmember Brown.
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner.
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Yes.
And Mayor Carlskin.
Yes. Now we go on to public and general business. The first item is to receive a report on real-time information camera pilot program and to provide direction and funding for the future of the program. And it looks like we have 2 presenters. I guess you're going first.
I'm sorry? Yes,
Okay.
presenters. This is a partnership between IT and public safety. So tonight, we're presenting to you a pilot program that we are proposing for real-time information cameras in the city. And what we would like to do is propose to have those cameras in the intersection of Joyner and Ferrari Ranch Road. You might see cameras on traffic lights throughout the city, like at freeway on-ramps or other locations. Those don't belong to us. We don't use those or access them or have access to any of them. Or you might see some in some of the newer areas, because with new construction, they are putting cameras in as part of the new construction, even though they're not plugged in and they're not in use. It's just something that's become standard. So this would be the first of its kind, and we chose the that intersection because of the recent uptick in accidents at that intersection. And at the time of the when I wrote the staff report, I think in the last 60 days, 30 or 60 days, there was 3 accidents, and I'll let Matt talk to that.
Yep, so that is one of the busier intersections in the city, and it's one of the more frequent intersections with collisions, and typically the severity in that intersection is significant, just due to the speeds and the configuration. So that's why that intersection was selected, just due to the volume and the proximity to businesses in the area and the propensity for collisions to be happening there, so.
So the pilot program will be a 30-day program, and during this pilot, there's 0 cost to the city.
Okay.
We wanted to talk about some of the benefits and uses of the pilot program. Emergency response would be, number one. When there is an incident at the intersection, dispatch would be able to look at the intersection and have the appropriate personnel. If they need to send 2 ambulances instead of 1, if there was a hazardous material spill, they could call public works crews to come in and start, make sure that doesn't get into the storm drains and whatever it would be that would happen. We could also, people call in and complain that maybe street lights or traffic lights aren't functioning appropriately. Public Works can remotely and instantly check to make sure that those are functioning as necessary. Any intersection hazards that are reported, they can see what it is exactly to get the right people out to move the hazards. Accident documentation, when there is a collision and ED would pull the video of what happened. If insurance requested it at that time, they could submit the video for insurance to see who was at fault. And then I'll let Matt talk to the last part about community safety and theft use.
Yeah, so this project initially started as a traffic camera program, and there's reasons for that, and a lot of that has to do with retention. Cities like the city of Roseville, any signaled intersection in the city of Roseville has a traffic camera on it. The cameras are owned and maintained by the streets department over in Roseville. And anytime the police department needs video, they contact the streets department, then they pull the video for them. So the police department doesn't have immediate access. And the general reason for that is simply just retention and Public Records Act requests and not being overwhelmed. They're unmonitored cameras, which theoretically can reduce your retention period. However, another item that is becoming extremely prevalent and is just the way policing is going is real-time information centers. And that would be a center within a police department that has a network of cameras throughout the city where they're able to monitor, and a call for service comes out, they can move the cameras over to that location and see what's going on. And this would be us dipping our toe into that. We are by no means prepared to be an Elk Grove, and they have pretty much the gold standard in probably, if not the state, the nation, for their real-time information centers. But this is us getting, again, just taking a look and seeing how this would work for us. The community safety aspect, having these cameras at this intersection specifically, the neighboring businesses of that intersection are some of the busiest when it comes to retail theft and just general retail crime. So having this there with that intersection being a potential escape route would be very helpful for us to be able to pull up that camera and take a look, whether it be live or it be after the fact, just to get a better vehicle description and to see what was going on. So in the broad sense, the real-time information centers or real-time information cameras is what we're calling them, versus traffic cameras. It is just truly that. It's additional eyes immediately on scene before first responders arrive to get a sense as to what's going on, to be able to catch someone in the act or catch someone, okay, the vehicle, left heading, north on this road, which oftentimes we wouldn't be able to see because it just takes a while for us to get there. So it's immediate eyes on scene. It's becoming very common, and really the major hurdle in cities is the cost. And that's why just a lot of cities are slowly rolling these things out. So I'll go ahead and talk to that.
Yes.
I'll give you a break. So what it's not used for, they're not red light cameras. We don't have any of those, and we have no interest in those. It does not monitor speed, does not issue speeding tickets, and it wouldn't be used for non-active incident tracking. So we're not just randomly taking a look at the intersection, seeing what's going on. There would need to be a purpose to be able to access that video, whether it be Public Works needing to check traffic flows, or we have a collision after the fact and trying to determine who is at fault. So that's what it's not used for. And let Jen speak to the why choosing this.
We spoke with several neighboring agencies about traffic cameras that they're using, and this is used by one of our neighboring agencies. It's a Swedish corporation owned by Canon. And so we were looking for something that was not going to be on the list of cameras not to use in the future. So we picked one of those types of cameras. And then it was really important to me with all of the cybersecurity breaches and hacking that we found a camera that was ISO 27000 compliant. And so that kind of like narrows your field quite a bit. This company does a lot of their own penetration testing and cybersecurity checking, breaching with their cameras. This is the camera that we chose. It's an Axis camera. It has 4 cameras in the UFO flying saucer part that we call it. And then it has a point or a pan tilt zoom camera in the bottom. So you can rotate 360 to see the entire intersection and zoom and see what's going on if you needed to go in to see something specific. This is what it would look like installed. This is a neighboring agency. You can see which one it is. You've probably driven by it when you go to Costco. But it's most people probably don't even notice that they're there. This is the intersection, and the 2 cameras would be installed. It's 2 cameras, one on each in the circle. And you can see the view of the cameras for covering the whole intersection. So with that, we have a few things that we would like to ask of you for direction. Or do you give the green light to the pilot program? If the pilot program is deemed useful, could we move forward with purchasing for that intersection? And would you be open for us to expand to other intersections as it came up? With that, we can take any questions.
Any questions? Starting with Paul.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I've got some curiosity more than anything else. It sounds like you're going to put the monitoring ability for this in dispatch, but it is not going to be monitored full-time or a distraction to dispatch. You're not going to need additional personnel to monitor.
Correct. Yeah, we're nowhere near that point. Down the road in the future, that would be great to have an analyst being able to work in a real-time information center. But yeah, as of right now, it would just be another resource available when needed.
So what does that end of the system look like? Is it just a regular?
Just another window on the 6 screens that they have. It would just be another window on those screens.
So help me understand the technology. It's not hardwired into a system. It's somehow broadcasting wirelessly.
Yeah, so it has little modems at each location that are then send the data to the cloud, which is accessed by the software, which is accessed with a username and password with 2-factor authentication.
Got it. Like I had another, but it's not popping up right now, so turn it over to the rest.
Bill, you have any questions?
Chief, you said something a second ago that just made me want to ask. So we don't have any red light cameras in town, or we do have some?
We do not. We have none.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. And then I'm sorry, I'm just curious. So why are developments, I don't mean to get off track, but why are developments putting up cameras in these new areas when they're not being used? That just seems kind of stupid.
I agree.
Do you know why they're doing that?
No, and I didn't know they were there until recently.
Okay, maybe that's a question for Christian to talk about later when they do development, like why are you putting up cameras when you're not using them? Okay, back to the topic. So I really appreciate making it known that this is not red light. It's not looking at what people are doing, right? It's not, what was the other one? Not speeding, not, what was the other things you said?
Yeah, not used for non-incident.
Oh, non-incident.
purposes, yeah.
It's not facial recognition. It's
Correct.
nothing like that, right?
Yep.
So that's really good to know because, I think in some information that Sean sent to us, this is not Big Brother watching. We're not into that, right? So this is clearly just for crime fighting and traffic incidents.
It's
and
as
things like
needed,
that. Yes.
situational awareness, when needed. And traffic collisions, unless you have video, it's, they said. So it's.
that is
Yeah,
100% true.
it's, so you don't know unless you know. And this would help be able to prove
Yeah.
who is at fault in collisions.
Okay. Thanks.
And if, Councilmember Andriotta, if I could just add one thing.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we were discussing earlier today about this intersection, which, as we know, is like, at least by statistic, is our most dangerous one. We know that, right? But Matt's team is very good at recreating accidents, but there's only so much you can really know from doing that. And so even if it's just during this pilot period, it would be really useful for us to actually be able to see how that's occurring and be able to figure out some patterns so that Vin's team can figure out, do we have line of sight issues? Do we have timing issues on the streetlights? Or, it could be something as simple as hedge height. It could be speed. And there's all these kind of things, and it's really difficult for us to ascertain that without being able to monitor
Right.
it. So we think it's, time well spent.
In your research in other jurisdictions, did you come across any like citizen complaints about it? Other than people being caught for stealing or accidents or whatever, like just normal everyday citizens? Did you come across anybody complaining to the city, they don't like it, they feel being intruded on or anything like that? Did you come across any of that?
That didn't come up in conversation, but admittedly, that wasn't something we were seeking
Right,
out.
okay, okay.
It was just more on the technical side of things.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
And
So
I
Holly,
like the idea that it is zero cost for the,
30 days.
what I'm really more interested in is when we show that it is a valuable tool. What, you say it's a window. So, do we have to build a server or get a server software once you get past the one unit? If the unit works, we're going to want to start out with all the major intersections. So I'd like to get an idea of the magnitude of that cost.
Sure. So we're
It's not the
proposing,
cameras.
no, later in this meeting, we're proposing a 96-hour retention policy for these real-time information cameras because they are live feed 24/7. And if you don't have what you need from the cameras downloaded and saved somewhere else for the incident that happened within that 96 hours, then you're probably, it's late. So that takes care of the storage problem because every 96 hours it would overwrite the video and which would save us those costs.
So I guess I can ask this question when we get to the budget item, but so do we have the money? If we like it after the 30 days, or we find it useful, where is this funding coming from?
Two sources. It would either come out of the police technology or equipment budget or streets. We'll probably package it together and figure out what proportionate amount should be assessed to each. But I think before we do that, what we would do is like really ascertain like what's the value that we're getting out of it. And what we try to do with all capital purchases is we try to proportionally allocate how much each division is getting out of the thing, whatever it is, and then have them pay proportionally too.
Okay, and I appreciate that. When you
But
talk
yes,
ab-
there is budget for it, for
Okay,
sure.
when you talk about taking it out of streets, we can have that conversation when it's appropriate, because although I think this will be valuable and it's kind of exciting, I don't want to jeopardize street repair projects.
No, I apologize. When I say streets, what I typically mean is capital engineering
Okay,
of
okay,
streets.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
not the same buckets of money that
Thank you for that
fund that stuff. Yeah.
clarification.
And you'd also mentioned maybe what others, if any additional intersections that we might want you to have. I think there's one or two others as part of the pilot program, if it's available, that we could.
I think we probably get one 30-day pilot program. Yeah, we don't get to try them out on all the other intersections.
Yeah, there's pretty
Okay.
significant installation
Are they?
for doing this, and so we're doing one intersection.
So Holly's question pulled mine back to mine, and it's a little bit in the weeds, but I am curious if future development, current development is putting in these cameras. Do we know what their capabilities are? Are they meant for our use?
So
Are they?
I want to clarify on the development part. So it's new development, like, so the ones that are there are at the roundabout. So it's the capital project that happened. They put them in at the roundabout. And then there's a new park that they are putting in, that they're proposing putting some at the new park in Bella Breeze. So that's the standard with all new design. They're starting to put cameras in parks, roundabouts, and streets, and those kinds of things. They're putting cameras.
And do we have a desire to activate those cameras? And
I wanted to run this pilot program first and see what the thoughts of the council were on activating those cameras. They're installed. They just need to be plugged in. We would put a cell modem on them, and then they are they're Access brand cameras as well, which was another bonus, so that they can go directly into the system that we are proposing. And so that would be, if we were to do this program, we would expand it and add those.
got it, okay. Just had another one get away from me. I guess I'm having a senior evening tonight.
It'll
So
come back to you.
it will.
Yeah. There's absolutely no doubt that it's not going to be useful. So, we can prove it pretty easily.
Yeah.
I'm, again, worried about scaling and the cost of scaling and the plan for scaling. Okay, if there's no more questions.
I actually did think of what it was. Does this work in tandem with our license plate readers? Does it not?
Part of a different system.
Yeah, we can integrate our license plate readers with this software as well.
Yeah, Flock is becoming very ubiquitous, and they are everywhere, and they are integrating with the major manufacturers of cameras, and there's an interface that you're able to connect between a third party and Flock, and therefore, yes, now we just added additional Flock cameras under the price of these cameras.
Interesting. Probably for another year.
Yeah.
Hey, we're through up here.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
open it to the public. Are there
You
any?
have cards for that? You have cards for that? You have cards for that?
Yeah. James Inston.
He just called your name. You go ahead and come up. Yep.
But I didn't actually put a card in for this.
Oh,
you
can speak to-
The purchase for the
Okay, you
police.
can speak to it if you
So
want.
just public comment.
Yep.
So my name is James Enston. I'm a resident of District 3, Lincoln Crossing. Thank you very much for allowing me to address the council, Mr. Mayor and council people. I have to say I'm not buying in on this whole, it'll help. First of all, it's all private property in the Target Shopping Center.
Sir, could you speak to the council,
It's a-
It
please?
is all
Microphone
private
and
property in the
comments.
Target Shopping Center. So they should be paying for cameras. If they have a retail theft problem, if they have a crime problem, they're the ones that are responsible for dealing with that, right? And there are cameras in Target. You walk into Target, there are 160 cameras in Target. Like they know what's going on in there, right? So putting cameras at the intersection, we already have the Flock safety cameras. If they provide a description of the vehicle that's leaving, we know which way it went. because you cannot leave that area without being picked up on flock. So A. B, if it's not real time, which they've admitted it's not real time, what are you actually going to do? Accident reconstruction is purely for participant insurance claims. There's no city liability there. So what are we solving for? And when they say it doesn't cost anything, who's mounting the camera to the pole? Who's powering the camera? It doesn't like cost nothing. There may be a free 30-day trial offered by whoever is providing us the camera, but it's not free at all. And after 30 days, there's a significant cost to this. So I would be absolutely opposed to moving forward with this unless we understand everything in totality before we say yes. So that's my comment. Thank you.
I don't think that they said it didn't cost anything. They said there was a 30-day trial.
Right.
And that they didn't say that there's no cost to it. Is that for
I
the
think
first-
the slide said it was
for-
a free
for
trial.
the- For the 30 days.
Right, but still, even to get the trial working, you have to have Public Works out there with a lift. You have to shut down lanes. You've got to get on a pole. You've got to pull a cable. You've got to mount the camera. You've got to aim the camera. So there is cost involved just to get the free trial working.
Okay.
Any other members of the public wish to make comment online?
No hands.
Bring it back to the council for
Well,
decision.
I think my response to that was, that, yeah, stores do have cameras and, but right now we have a huge issue with smash and grabs and people running off. And we get complaints about traffic issues and collisions and things like that in that area all the time. So we hear about it all the time. You hear about it all the time. Sometimes it's dangerous intersection. And I think if we can mitigate that in a very positive way, it would be positive, it would be helpful.
Well, and I believe that it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we protect the safety and the property of the individual too. And so that means if it's our businesses or other people that are in the what intersection or whatnot, if it's something that we can provide and help with, I can't imagine that it's not incumbent upon us to help out in those ways in a responsible manner, so.
Right, and I think with the 30 days, we can evaluate what we think about it. I think that's good.
Yeah, this interchange in particular is a major crossroads in our city. And while it is true that that center is private property and that there are cameras within that center, they don't cover the street. They do not address the question of which way did they turn when they got to that interchange. Did they head for the freeway? Did they head into town? Did they head west? Did they head south? This could potentially add additional information for our officers to act upon from the crime fighting side. I think the initial interest, as I read it, was really, as I read the staff report, was really capturing the incidents that happened, where there's been 3 accidents within that interchange in the last how many days?
60 days.
60 days, and 2 significant injuries. So to be able to capture that, see what actually happened, yes, certainly it's going to be used by insurance folks as well, but there could be criminality involved. It could be a drunk driver who runs a red light, and we've got that captured and are able to put it together with a blood alcohol test to put together a case against that individual. So it's simply a tool that can be used multiple different ways, but is not being used as a red light system or anything like that. Certainly not being used as a means of collecting fees or fines or anything else. And it may be that the tool doesn't work out as we think it's going to work, but I'm going to support the pilot program. With respect to your additional questions, but I don't know that I want to absolutely authorize the purchasing of that future system.
I think our goal was open to hearing a purchase proposal if everything went well is more of what we were looking for.
I would be open to that.
Yep.
Yeah, and what they're, the city not having liability doesn't stop us from getting sued all the time. And having, in one particular case, total video of that corner would make our life a lot easier, would have made our life a lot easier. So I am fine with the test case, the pilot program. Then we'll see what your recommendation is and whether we can swallow it.
Right.
Bill?
There you go.
All right, well then I move approval of item 10A on a 30-day pilot test for real-time information camera.
Is this an action item or is this
Oh,
just?
I think this is just
general
seeking direction, so I
Oh.
think they're
Yeah.
looking just for kind of a bob of the heads.
You got it then.
We can bob the head.
There you go.
There's no resolution attached
That
to
makes
it.
it easy.
The next item on the agenda. Thank you.
Oh, here's the resolution.
Is item
So
10B.
what would you have done if we said no? Would this come off the agenda?
No, this is for a different project.
Right. Adopt a resolution authorizing the budget augmentation for CIP T 231. T 231, anyway.
That technology capital project, so it starts with a T.
Is that what we're doing now?
Yes.
So,
So, good evening, me again. I'm here quite a bit tonight. So, I am presenting to you we have a technology CIP that helps secure our critical facilities. These are pump stations, water tanks, any critical facility that we are legally need to have physical security to have an eye on. The police department is one of them through DOJ. There's specific requirements about video capture in different areas of the police department, inside and outside. And this camera system that they have now is really old. I think it's like 20 years old. It's older than 15 years old. And it's undersized. I think they have 5 or 6 cameras in this to cover everything that is necessary. It's about 20-something cameras. So this is to be in compliance with DOJ and secure our police station. I'll take any questions.
I think you just addressed it.
Yeah.
DOJ compliance. and
Yep.
secure
well,
the
is
police
there
station.
any chance of getting a home, getting federal money?
I'm sorry, I can't. couldn't
Is there
hear.
any chance of getting federal grant from
There,
Homeland Security?
I haven't looked into that
It
option.
would. We need to do it, but it's their requirements for the most part.
That's funny.
Because
Yeah,
we
pay for
never
it.
have unfunded
That's funny.
mandates.
Yeah, so there's the Cal OES cybersecurity grant that was just released 2 weeks ago. They've been holding on to the money since 2020. We have a very short timeline to submit to that. I could submit, but I'm not sure it would fall because it's a cybersecurity specific grant, but I can look into that one. That one would be the one with the shortest timeline.
The other question I have, is this the same equipment that we use for our building security?
So this is a different camera system that was originally installed here. The reason that I changed is the software that this one uses is a lot better for archiving and searching and doing things that when you have to go back and find video. And the the cybersecurity levels that they take to make sure that, you know, these cameras are ISO 27000 compliant is above and beyond what the cameras that were installed here. What we did here is we actually did a physical separation of our network so that if anything were to happen to the cameras, if anyone tried to get into the cameras, that they wouldn't go anywhere. So at the PD, that's almost impossible to do for these cameras. And so I was in search of something that was a more secure option on the side of cameras.
Any other questions? Any questions from the public? There was a comment
I think you have a
by
comment.
Mr. Enston.
It's me again. I brought notes this time. Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak. As a private residential owner in Lincoln Crossing District 3, my name is James Enston. So I'm here tonight as a quasi-expert in physical security cameras and access control. This has been my industry for the last 10 years. I have been an executive vice president, a vice president, a co-founder, an investor, working for many different physical security camera manufacturers and resellers. I have a little bit of experience in this space, at least 10 years. I think I can say intelligently that the city is overpaying based upon what the proposed expenditure is for what the city will be getting. There are many camera solutions in the market that cost much less than what is being proposed that will deliver a level of service that the police department is due. And so my ask is that the city consider alternatives not to reduce the number of cameras, not to reduce the public safety, but to reduce the expenditure so that the city saves the taxpayer money. So I can give you an example if you'd like, or I can leave it at that. So in my expert opinion, the city is paying approximately 2x what the system should cost based upon the number of cameras, the installation, the service warranty, the software. I have sold similar systems to similar municipalities over the last 10 years for approximately $75,000. The city is requesting $143,000 approximately. So that is double, give or take, what I have sold similar systems to, and that is at full retail price. The $75,000 price that I quoted is at full retail price before any discount. That is my comment. Thank you very much.
Jennifer, did you go out with an RFP?
No, I did not go out for RFP. This is using a vendor that we use for other cameras within the city. And so we used the same vendor as a sole source. The one thing about the police department that why this is probably a lot more expensive is the installation. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the inside of the police department, but wiring throughout the inside and outside of that building is not something that is simple. And so there's a lot of extra precautions that they're taking when they're doing the wiring because of some animals that they have in the walls that like to eat wiring and things of that nature. And so this might be a little bit higher because of the actual environment that the cameras are going to be in.
That makes sense to me, based on some of the projects and stuff that I've been on where there's not specifically in cameras, but when it comes to building medical facilities and things like that, where it more for some specialty items for the building on medical side. And decided that it would cost that much more, but I mean, it makes sense.
Well, and to that point, nobody can quote a price without actually looking at the job. I've been in that situation before where, you're looking at, systems of different types for particular building and you get a quote from one business who is giving you a really good deal, they do good work, and someone comes along and says, oh, I can give you that for $10,000 cheaper or $25,000, but they've never stepped foot on the property, they've never looked at anything. And having some experience in that particular industry, I'm like, there's no way you can do that because I know what it takes. And so I am not a cybersecurity expert or camera expert or none of that, but knowing how that type of thing works, you cannot estimate what something will cost to that degree unless you go and you look at it and you know what you're dealing with. So, and then also, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. And then we also can't forget, and I don't know how much it plays into this, is that, the interest rates and inflation are really high right now, and everything that we do is more expensive. And every day that goes by, everything that we do is more expensive in the city and in our homes. So I think that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. It completely, it's a bummer, right? Like, I could use another word, but I'm like, it's a bummer, but that's what the reality of our world right now.
And I also had a senior moment. I did get a second quote on this project. I forgot because we did it so long ago. And it was higher than this quote. And I can provide that quote. I didn't put it in here because I actually forgot that I did it, but we did do both when we were doing the cameras for the water and sewer sites. This has been a big project. It's a lot of different sites. And so this has been kind of over 7 or 8 months, I think we've been working on this.
Well, sometimes you're so efficient, then you forget how efficient you are and you forget what you already did, right?
And I'm kind of all over the place.
Remember to put that kind of thing in a staff report. Makes my life a lot easier,
Sorry.
There is running through my mind the whole, when we do these sole source things, we need to be transparent about how we arrived at it. And it's got to be more than I like the camera.
So that's where I was heading as well, and I'm glad that you remembered that you got another bid on this. We have never been fans of single source contracts if we can avoid them. And I guess I would ask the question, is there urgency in this? Does it need to be done in the next 30 to 60 days? Is it wise to go back out, or are we going to incur additional
Chief is
costs?
reaching for the microphone.
What's that?
Chief is reaching for the microphone.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just to answer your question, I mean, truthfully, it's not urgent, but sooner than later, with our limping camera system and limited views, there's been multiple times that haven't been able to capture something in the parking lot that would have been very helpful or in the lobby. So if there is some more due diligence desired, we can swallow that. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, if that wasn't that long ago that you looked for LISWA as far as looking at cameras,
Correct.
just a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough because it's very similar. No, that's acceptable to
So
me.
just for the public's sake, and actually for ours as well, you went out for a similar system for,
We had 2 vendors come at the same time and do the walk of the police department and give quotes.
okay, and there was no one else interested in bidding the project?
We had, these are 2 vendors that we have used within the city. And so we had those. We did not go out for an RFP.
I want to clarify something. So sometimes the RFP process is super useful, sometimes. And sometimes it isn't. And when specifically on this kind of thing, so a technology, a camera system, and something that we as staff and specifically the police department are going to have to live with for the foreseeable future, certainly the rest of our careers. It's pretty important that the technology is something that our CITO is comfortable with and feels that is going to be valuable to that department for a long time. And so she and I had numerous conversations about this because whenever we make any kind of purchases, I kind of act as that person that says, well, are we sure that that's, a fair price? And this isn't, we can't compare this to bidding a roadway project where you're putting asphalt down, you know exactly what unit costs are and they detail. This is a little bit more specific because remember, as they was said, we're installing into a building that is not only really old, but it's surrounded in steel, completely barricaded on all sides, which makes drilling through walls much more expensive. We know this because we just got done with 2 remodel projects at the police department, and we're in the middle of a server rebuild or something? Server room expansion. And it's just a tough building to do any kind of construction on. Here, super easy. When we did our camera project here at City Hall, really not that complex. It's a modern building, very easy to get in and out of. So we wouldn't have agendized if we didn't feel very comfortable. I appreciate, the comments about whether or not we could save cost. And you know what? If council chooses that you'd like to approve it, I don't think that it's all that much for us to go and have an additional discussion with another vendor just to absolutely make sure that we're not paying an absolute premium. But if, we already have one other quote, that's kind of it.
I'm not ever in technology looking for the cheapest solution. That's absolutely the wrong thing to do. But I am interested in paying a reasonable price for a reasonable product. She met that, and I also know she doesn't like to buy bad stuff because she's had to live with a lot of bad stuff, which
Because-
took the job.
Because if we have issues, Jen is the one who has to deal
So-
with it. And just one last thing on that. Really, if we had somebody in your position that was maybe new to the city or we didn't know as well, that'd be one thing. And we would say, oh, maybe, do a little more due diligence, but for public's good, for our good. Jen has been here for a long time. She's the expert in this field and she's not one to take lightly the task of getting the best deal for the city, but make sure it's quality stuff. And so although we are always very diligent about taxpayer dollars, I trust you completely because you have proven yourself over and over again to be one of the best employees that we have. And you are always looking out for our security at the wastewater treatment plant, at the police station, at this building. And so I think that needs to be said as well.
And you have to remember putting it into the building you're talking about with policemen in it. Your resident that you're bothering carries a gun. So you really want to get things done well and right. So anyway, thank you. Any more? We went through questions already. So I'm ready to take a motion.
I move to adopt resolution 2024-162.
I second.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta.
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner,
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen.
Yes.
And Mayor Carl Skint.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is 10C, which is approving the Lincoln Police Department record retention guidelines. Chief Al.
Jen and Chief show tonight. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the camera and Jen and Chief show. Quite the night. All right, so thank you for hearing this item. So this one is a simple routine item, and it has to do with just updating our department's record retention schedules, specifically for video. And the retention items that are being requested to be adopted are both video recordings. One would be police department security, and we're requesting a retention of 90 days. And second would be video recordings, real-time information cameras, which we're requesting 96 hours. We've recently purchased the mobile camera unit that we deployed out on the 4th of July. And with the potential additions of these additional cameras, we wanted to make sure that all of our ducks were in a row and we had retention locked in and approved prior to deploying these assets. So with the 96 hours on the real time, that we feel that that gives us enough time where if something significant happened, that gives us 4 days to go back and look something up. If we have a collision on a Friday and it takes us a few days to get to it, then we're going to have the time to do that. But the retention isn't so much that it's just overburdensome to the servers and increasing the storage costs. And then the 90 days for police department security recordings, we feel that that's enough for if anything were to happen, whether the public, there was something that happened where we needed to capture that video, or something regarding an employee that needed to be looked at in the 90 days as well, within reason for us to be able to notice something happening and pull video on it. So again, this is just an update to our existing schedule that was approved back in February by council. So entertain any questions you may have on these two items I'm asking.
I don't have any questions on this.
I have one. Video from the drones. Where does that fit?
So that, we have our own policy on that, and those are, called me on the carpet. I don't recall, there's no, that video is retained, and I don't have the time off the top of my head. I'd need to look at our policy for when that is purged. I believe what it is the only video that is needed for that event is retained, and then otherwise it's just immediately purged out. So it doesn't, it's not correct. It's not this. That's under our UAV policy specifically.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any comments from the public? Anybody online?
No hands are raised, Mayor.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Move approval of the item.
Okay, I second.
A motion and a second.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyner?
Yes.
Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Lordson? And Mayor Carlskin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go on to item 10D, which is to execute an agreement for a broadband master plan with EN Engineering. There she is again.
Excited about this.
I'm back. So this is, the item that I'm bringing before you is the cost proposal for doing the fiber master plan, and as well as creating policies and giving us all the tools necessary to start implementing that plan. And this was discussed in one of our workshops for ARPA, so we will be using restricted ARPA funds to pay for this plan. And it's taking the plan to the next step. So it's doesn't sit on the shelf, and we can, with new development, we can have fibers get put in with the new development and start building out better services we could provide our residents.
Thank you. Any comments, questions?
My only comment is, sometimes things take a long time in city government. But I really appreciate you guys bringing this forward now. We talked about it, at the beginning of the year or whenever that was, a few months back at our strategic meeting. And we said this was a priority, and we allocated those funds to go towards this. And so now we're moving forward, and I appreciate that it's not sitting on the shelf and taking us 5 years to do it. But we have to spend the money, right? We're on a timeline, and I appreciate it. It's going to be good for the city.
Yeah, and it's very timely, frankly, because we've got so many open trenches at this moment in time around the city. We wait another 5 years, we may not have that opportunity. So being able to move swiftly in this case is a good thing.
Mayor, I think Jen's had too many items tonight. She kind of undersold this a little. This is a huge deal,
Sorry.
like a huge deal. First of all, usually very large, super well-funded organization or cities will have these because they can afford to do it. And what we've learned, because she did a ton of research, contacting other jurisdictions, is that the plan is one thing, and it doesn't sound all that exciting, I think, to the average resident, but what comes of it really is super important. There's a couple of areas of Lincoln, we think about 1/5, that have some fiber service, primarily down in Lincoln Crossings. The vast majority of the rest of the community does not have it. And if they do have it, it's very expensive or difficult to get. And so what will come of this is not only grant money to install the lines, but think about this. One of the concepts we've discussed internally as they're getting started on this is we'll pick an area, and we're probably going to pick the downtown area. Lincoln, probably commercial and residential. So think like McBean Park, East Avenue to Joyner, roughly. And you're able to drop lines into those areas. There's a bunch of options you can do. You can sell those rights to service providers, which allows the city to generate some revenue. You can create a public system that people can get into. Or alternatively, one thing we've kind of explored a little bit is to sell the rights and require that the service provider provides it at a very low cost to the people in that area. So if you live in that area, maybe you get fiber internet service at a fraction of what you're already paying Wave or one of these other services to get. In addition to being able to use our light poles and create a mesh network throughout, public Wi-Fi, all of those things that are just not a thing we have in this moment. And, it's the future. It's already here, but we're trying to catch up. And so I think she's done a really good job. This is a huge project, and it's taken a lot of work to get here. And now we get to hand it off to an expert that will develop the plan.
Great.
James. Hey, it's me again. Good evening, Mayor, council members, more notes. Thank you for allowing me to speak as a private residential owner in Lincoln Crossing District 3. My name is James Enston. In my previous comment, I said I was a pseudo expert in physical security. Prior to joining physical security industry 10 years ago, I was in the high-speed data networking industry. I have worked for Hewlett Packard. I have worked for Cisco. I have worked for other technology companies in this space. I'm here tonight to again question what the city's intent is in building and operating its own broadband internet. Many locations, especially in District 3, which is what Sean mentioned, already have high-speed internet, which is offered at a very, very low cost. I think in the HOA dues in Lincoln Crossing, the allocation is probably $25 to $27 per month for high-speed broadband internet. So my question is the city proposing to spend this $264,000 ARPA fund to study the feasibility of offering the internet, or is this the first step in greater ongoing expenditures? My question as a business owner, as an investor, as a senior executive would be the following. Two questions. How much will this ultimately cost the city, and how much profit will we earn? Because if it's a black hole project, it's just going to have an ongoing, repeating annual expense to the city. Technology gets old. Technology needs to be maintained. You need personnel. You need technicians. And somebody cuts a fiber line, you got to fix it. That literally just happened in Lincoln Crossing yesterday. Having private industry do this is way more efficient than having a public sector entity do it. I find it very telling that one of the references the engineering company shared is Hillsboro, Oregon. Hillsboro is twice as large as Lincoln. Hillsboro has 107,000 residents. We have how many? 53,000? Hillsboro began building their broadband internet in 2020. They just crossed 1,000 subscribers. So nearly 5 years after they started the initiative, they now, in a city with twice as many potential customers, they have now gotten to 1,000 subscribers, paying on average $55 per month before subsidy. So how much money can the city possibly recoup on the millions of dollars it may cost us to roll this out in a limited area? On its face, this appears to be a significant investment with a very low likelihood of returning any financial benefit to the taxpayers. I respectfully ask the council to either table the item or vote nay to allow further consideration. Thank you.
Can I, Mayor, you mind? So maybe I wasn't clear. Let me be clear. I did not say that the city was going to run a public internet company. We do not have in many areas, especially in older areas of Lincoln, fiber lines in the ground, period. Right? My colleague to my, that's right. My colleague to my left here just reminded me that she pays $180 a month for not fiber service, for probably just normal broadband service. The point here is not to run an internet company. The point is to get the infrastructure into areas that have been paved over for 100 years and to give private industry the opportunity to provide that service to many areas of the community that otherwise would never get it. So, and the second follow-up to what does it cost? If we knew that, we would probably not be doing this plan. The whole point of the exercise is to study and understand exactly what the cost and consequences are. And it may be that it isn't worth the effort. However, what we found from dozens of other agencies is this has been a worthwhile investment because, as I mentioned, there's tremendous grant funding at a federal level for this. Fiber service is a huge priority, really regardless of administration. It seems to just continuously be a really important component. So appreciate the comments, but I think maybe I wasn't super clear when I gave my report.
And we can't get the grant funding if we don't have the plan. And the plan isn't costing us anything because we've allocated ARPA money for that. So thank you for the clarification, Sean.
The old part of town, you have a plan for the new parts of town in the future where fiber is not neat, it's an absolute necessity in areas like Sub B and Village 5.
Yeah, well, that's one other thing I didn't mention. Economic development. One of the ways that Aaron and I, we're sort of at a competitive disadvantage in some ways is some of the areas that we'd like to unlock with some job producing businesses. We don't have fiber there. And these days, the kinds of businesses that might be interested in being adjacent to the highway and actually coming to Lincoln, that's a must have. It's not it'd be great if you have it. It's we need that or we're not interested and we're going to pass. So, and I can tell you that after, a long time of attracting businesses to communities.
Okay, any other comments?
Were you
from
going to
the
say
public?
something a second ago?
Well, I was going to talk to the economic development piece, but Sean's really good at that, so.
Okay, anybody
And
online?
the other thing I was going to say was I had always made it very clear that I did not want to be in the fiber maintaining business. Is I don't have enough staff as it is, and we don't need to take on underground infrastructure. So,
Right, and we never said we were going to, so, yeah. I had a thought too, not that education and the school system is our purview, but it reminds me of when we had the pandemic and schools were shut down and everybody had to do school from home. And there were a lot of families who really scrambled because they didn't have the proper internet or Wi-Fi. I know the school district that I was teaching at the time, our administration had to go and provide hotspots and stuff for homes. And God forbid that ever happens again. Like, we don't want that to happen. But in those particular cases, not only economic development, but for education purposes and things like that, we need to make sure that they have the ability, the infrastructure that they need to do. And these days, more people are homeschooling and things like that. So it's just a necessity all the way around. I mean, we're not in the 80s anymore. We're not. And I wish we were, but we're not. We have to catch up. Yes.
there's definitely some really good partnerships that we can have. moving
Yes,
forward with
exactly.
this.
Yeah, so.
No one online, Mayor.
Nobody online. Okay,
Okay, well, if there's no other comments or questions, then I move that we adopt resolution 2024-164 for the broadband master plan.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Andriotta?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Joyner?
Yes.
Councilmember Lauritsen?
Yes.
And Mayor Carlskent.
yes.
Thank you, Jen.
Next item on the agenda is city manager report.
Thank you very much. Just a couple items tonight. I wanted to plug the, obviously Treasurer Pearl already mentioned Wings and Wheels, but we also have a health fair, a senior health fair. It's our second annual at our McBean Pavilion. It's on September 18th. It sort of started last year as just a kind of test case with Chris Wyatt and Herrick Garland and myself, just trying to figure out if maybe anybody might want to attend. And it was pretty successful. A lot of seniors down there. Chief did a presentation on scams that affect seniors. We had the DA's office on elder crimes down there. We had some healthcare providers giving kind of lessons. I think they even did like a Zumba or jazzercise class for folks. We had all types of vendors with information. And so we got a lot of great feedback from the community. So this year we're not going crazy, but we're expanding it a little bit, and we've taken the feedback we got and are changing the event a little bit so that it's a little bit more sensitive to folks that, what we learned was we had all these presentations going on inside the pavilion, and then in the same pavilion, people were trying to have conversations with vendors, and it was just too loud. So we're going to move things a little bit. Some of the presentations will happen outdoors. So hopefully we have some good weather and more vendors this year. Thus far, we have Kaiser confirmed, UC Davis confirmed. We're working on Sutter and Dignity. And so it should be a really great event. We're also working on some transportation opportunities for our seniors that just have trouble getting there. We're trying to work with PCTPA on some kind of one-day service so that we can get folks specifically from some of our senior apartment complexes to the place and back, because we heard a lot of feedback about that. So pretty exciting. Just want to give it one other really quick update on future work sessions that are coming up. So Christine is scheduled to give a workshop on your September 3rd work session on homelessness and some of our success and sort of what we see moving forward. We have some interesting ideas about how we can continue to expand and chip away at homelessness in Lincoln. And then more just as pressingly, in October, Catherine and I are going to present some information to the community and the council on library funding and service levels. As you're aware, maybe the community isn't, but it's out there now. Sierra College, the library is funded under a kind of a three-party partnership between Sierra College, Western Placer Unified School District, and the city of Lincoln, going way back to almost the build of that facility. And Sierra College has decided for business reasons and others that they're going to pull out of that arrangement. So effective June of next year, they will no longer be a contributor. That's a pretty significant hit to the library budget. And so we're going to have to do some work to figure out how we can maintain services. And Catherine, just as an exercise, because I think it's important to do, has done some work to figure out what it would take if we just lost the revenue, how much would she have to cut in terms of service levels and staff to maintain kind of a zero-based budget? And it's not pretty, I'll just tell you that. So we're not just coming to you with that information. We have some ideas about other ways that we can fund the library so it kind of maintains its place. And just in case any of your community members ask, because people ask, well, why, maybe we don't need a library. Maybe we just shut it down. We cannot shut it down unless we'd like to pay back the state millions of dollars because that library was built with a grant. And I believe the grant covenants say that it has to remain a library for 50 years, Paul? Yeah, so it's a challenge, but it's not unmanageable. We just want to be straight up about it so we can have a conversation.
For the people that don't know, the reason that there were three parties, this college, Sierra College, Western Placer, and the city, was originally where all the construction is going on now for the field was going to be a college, a satellite college campus for Sierra College the high school was going to be much smaller and closer to the south. That never materialized. The school district bought the property or got the property from the college. So they really never, even though they've been funding it for 15 years, they never made use of it. So,
Yeah. So like I said, it's unfortunate. I don't blame Sierra College. They have to make a business decision. That's fine. And we'll figure it out. So, and the final one that we don't have a scheduled date yet. We're trying to get it to you this year is Nita and I want to have a conversation with the council about how we the mechanism under which we allow bond financing for development in Lincoln. We don't have, we never have had a hard and fast policy about how that's done. There are multiple mechanisms. The city can operate as sort of the administrator. We can abject our responsibility to BOLD, and the BOLD program can take care of that. There's SCIP. There's a bunch of other financing methods. And there's advantages and disadvantages to all of them, and the developers will have feelings about them depending on the size of the project. But we're missing out, I think, on some opportunities for public benefit by not creating a policy that could be most advantageous to not only the taxpayer, but also the city of Lincoln by using some of these external agencies. And so I just think we need to have that conversation. It's a little dry, a little boring, but it's
Well, then
important.
bring donuts.
Yeah, okay, you
So-
got it. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
council initiated business. Is anyone on the council?
Yeah, I was gonna,
No, go ahead. No, no, no.
all right. I was gonna see if we could talk about maybe having some kind of safety, whether it's a no right turn on red over at 183 and East Avenue. I have a couple residents that they cross there to go to work. They live right there, but they cross right there to go to work, and it's been extremely dangerous. And so I don't know if we can have Vin or somebody look into what the possibilities for safety for walking, whether it's crossing over to go to the park right there or crossing right over to the business there. Something maybe, I don't know, again, pressing a button that where it allows them to have more time to be able to cross, stuff like that.
I don't know that that's, needs to be a council
I don't
initiated
know.
business. I think you've already thrown that to Vin and he can look into it.
Perfect. That was it. There's other concerns, but since I don't have to do it in council.
There you go.
I just have one business item. I was telling Sean the other day that, and you guys probably got the email too, that Aldo Panesci's daughter has taken over the community report, and at the very end of the list, it listed the Lincoln State of the City on December 18th. So I texted Sean, I'm like, oh, did we pick a date? And he's like, I don't know why that's on there. So my only thing is, we decided we want to do it, and so let's get a date on the calendar as soon as possible and move forward with that.
And we want to do it with Dan.
Yes, with Dan.
Being the mayor and
Yes.
not after his
No,
retirement.
we want to
from
do it
the
with him
council.
here still, yeah.
We want to do it because we haven't done one for
Yeah.
so long.
It'll be your swan song.
Yes.
Any other council initiative? Yep. Next, committee reports. Any people?
I just have one small thing. We had the Air Pollution Control District, the Air Board meeting last week. And, well, actually what we did was first, and I missed the first part of it because I was working, but the Air Board did a tour of the San Francisco Bay Coffee Company. And that was really interesting. They had a working lunch and a presentation. And then we drove right up for the board meeting. And everything in there was just normal stuff, budget and things like that, and presentation from CARB representatives. But one thing that was interesting, and I'm not going to bore you with, percentages and all that, but as you know, Placer County gets saddled with a lot of the air pollution and emissions that float here and then stay here. They're not, it's not ours, but we get blamed for it. And one of the frustrating things that happens is we work all year long to reduce emissions and have cleaner air. And then we have a fire and it wipes out the whole year's progress. And so we got a presentation on last year's mosquito fire, and most of the emissions that came out of that were more than all of Placer County's other emissions altogether. And so one big fire wipes out everything. And then, so that was last year's mosquito fire, but now we have the park fire, and then there's another fire. I think there was 2 more anyway. So that's just a little bit frustrating. And if you were interested, and you can look at the agenda, and there's like graphs and stuff, but it's just the ongoing effort and fight to, take care of the mandates that are passed down to us. But there's never any recognition that Placer County does a really good job, and we get everybody else's bad air, and there's no accounting for that, and it's a little frustrating, but ongoing problem. Yeah.
It's an ongoing problem that crosses into many different areas.
Yeah. Right.
So SACOG attended the Transportation Committee meeting, but to address your point about having to take the hit on bad air, SACOG works very, very hard to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles within our region, right?
Right.
We get 0 credit for electric vehicles or any of the changes that are taking place outside of the plan that we're forced to propose to the state. The state takes credit for all of that, even though a lot of that is our own work and effort. So it's the flip side of the coin that you're talking about. It almost seems as though there ought to be some type of legislation that says when you're accounting for these greenhouse gas emissions produced by fires in national forests or state forest lands, that should be taken out of the equation. That's in your pocket. And
Well, that, we, not this last time because I didn't go, but a year ago when we went to cap, that was one of the things that we advocated for was, giving us credit for that, and also for, recognition for the damage the fire does, but also helping us be able to do prescribed burns and take care of the forest better so we don't have all of that. So it's, yeah.
so very, very quickly for the Transportation Committee, we continue to work our way through section by section, the 2024 blueprint update. The battle that I'm doing right now, and I rather doubt I'm going to win this one, is the SACOG staff is using vehicle miles traveled as a proxy for greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles. Well, when you've got a car doing 5 miles an hour in traffic, running for half an hour, the emissions from that vehicle are exceptionally high in comparison to, let's say, a car at 65 miles an hour coming down from Auburn to Roseville and being there in 20 minutes. They feel that their formula accounts properly for that and adjusts for it, but their heat maps of where the most greenhouse gas emissions are generated is in the rural areas and not in the highly condensed traffic of the urban core. So I don't think that proxy of vehicle miles traveled is valid, but I'll keep fighting that battle, and we'll see where we get.
There was a LISWA meeting last Friday. Not much happened. It was a status meeting primarily, where we stand on the wastewater treatment improvement program project, the evaluation of a new method for determining what wastewater treatment unit is, and the new budget presentations are being redone because the contractors change. So essentially it was a status meeting. not supposed, the new treatment unit report is due at the next board meeting. And plans, detailed plans for the improvement project are due also, at least the initial plans. So that was, I think, about coverage.
I forgot I had one more. I had a senior moment too. I had a WAPMA meeting last week, and we had presentations from 3 different companies that want to add on to the gas that comes from the dump that is to do electric, the methane for
Methane,
electric.
right.
The methane, thank you. Very technical. And then there's new technology that's coming along that can transfer that into natural gas. And so we got a presentation from 3 different companies. The person who has the company that has been doing the methane for the last 20 years, she is wanting to work with one of them, but obviously kind of has her favorites. But we are taking a look at all of them, and we're going to decide, is this something we want to move forward with? I think the authority could make a lot of money in the next few years, and which is great for ratepayers. So we're in the middle of that. Pretty open conversation, at the meeting. And then there's some negotiating going on between the authority and the operators FCC, because we are in the building of the new MRF and all of that. And there's some discrepancies over, because they're a little behind schedule, and there's some discrepancies about costs and that sort of thing. So we're working that out with them right now. And so, yeah, I'll keep you updated on that
Yeah,
and give
please.
you more information when I'm allowed to. So, in a open meeting.
It was smooth when I left.
Yeah, oh, stop it. I
Uh,
don't think it was. as smooth as-
Wait, didn't
wasn't
you
as-
have a massive underground fire when you
wasn't
were
as
there?
smooth as You thought it was. Yeah.
um,
And then I have one information. Yeah.
Well,
So,
wait.
or
I wanna-
are we done with?
Not yet. For the people interested, committee report section of the meeting was a discussion item about the strategic session that we had that last week. And we're going to figure out the right way and good way to get committee reports out to the public. So some form.
Out to the public and out to each other. Communication is
and
what
to-
we're after, and
right.
how do we do that
Right.
lawfully within the Brown Act?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now we go to.
Yeah, and then last week we had National Night Out at McBean, and it was a really good success. We had a lot of people come through. I was there with the chaplain program, hanging out with our police department. It was a lot of fun, and Mattis was there with his little shoes on because the ground is hot. It was so cute. And I found Mattis has his own coloring book. And we have the stickers, but he has his own coloring book and everything. Yeah, it was a great event. A lot of participation, a lot of vendors. Yeah, it was fun.
If anybody wonders what the chief does with his day. it's
Yes.
Designing coloring books.
I just want to make clear too that code enforcement also has its own coloring book.
That's right. Yes, I heard that. Yes, I need to
Yeah.
get a couple of those. So, yeah.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Pulling down. Is that time in the queue?